Hey, this is Blake Sloan. I've been selling real estate over 14 years. Our team of highly trained professionals, along with our unmatched marketing, has sold thousands of homes here in the Myrtle Beach area, and this is how we do it.
Stuff's a little bit hard, but it's the biggest aha I've had from us as a company of how do we help people. We talked about a little bit some of that consulting stuff I've been doing. It talks about the alchemy of self. What do you guys think that is? Alchemy of self. It says alchemy is defined as a transformation of base metals into gold. So alchemy is a transformation of base metals, which should obviously be lead, worthless type things, into gold. And obviously we know gold is worth a lot more in that aspect. And so we want to talk about the gap between who you are right now and who you need to become to achieve your dreams. This is the biggest aha for me. Biggest aha. I was like, dude, we have all this shit, the script, everything, the presentation. Why do some make it? Why do some don't? Because 80% of what happens and 80% of success comes down to the alchemy of the person. Right? Has to do with the mindset, who they are and what they do, and it really comes down to the biggest gap in entrepreneurs that we talk about is an identity crisis. Biggest gap in salespeople, real estate people, is an identity crisis. What do you think that means? Yeah, obviously I'm not the greatest drawer, but I have an image for this. Is basically there's a battle of the reality of, and I say it's a sword here, right? There's a battle here between two people. Who do you think they are? You and you, right? Broken down to who you are now. Overall, right? And who do you need to be to become your dream? Right? Who do I need to be? This sounds simple, but the difference is once I start looking at it, I'm like, dude, every single time. To achieve the dream, right? There has to be a transformation, right? A transcendence, so to speak, of me above who I am now. And you start getting some psychology, it gets pretty deep, and I'm going to teach a little bit on it today. That's why I share those 3 doctrines with you. But there's a constant struggle every single day. And what happens to the person you are now when you try to be the person that you want to be in your dreams? Recoil, right? There's a lot of self-sabotage. So I know I should probably make the calls, but I watched a YouTube video and said, right? I know I should make the calls, but I scroll Facebook instead. I know I should follow up with that client, make that phone call, but I tend to obviously avoid that and do something else that does not get me paid. That's the true definition of alchemy of self, because I know this person here would make the calls, but there's a battle in between that self-sabotage because it's who I am now. Does that make sense? And so that's one thing I wrote down is that I had here is that the gap between who you are right now and who you need to be to achieve your dreams is really what's we're talking about. I'm going to draw it out. It's easy for me. I think there's one paper I had to draw it out that makes a big difference. But the mindset's 80% of having success in this business. Right? That's the identity of who you are. So this identity here is 80% of having success in this business. And the one way to look at it, right, I'm trying to draw this out too to help you guys. This is kind of something that made a big difference for me, is I have 2 main balls. Right? This is your current situation. This is your dream life right here. But there's a reality here that you have that overlaps. This is your current character. What do you think that means? A current character.
I mean, if you're talking in story terms, you're the main character, I guess, or it could speak to the character level you have in your integrity.
Yeah, so kind of, you have this box here. This box called the gap. Similar to what we talked about, an aspect. I think some of the stuff that Garrett got came from this too. But he just talks about there's 2 people, right? This person on here, guess what? They have the fear, the anxiety, right? They have all the hesitation, the doubts, the bad negative self-talk, the negative thoughts, all those things that tend to hold me back consistently, right? Versus the person on the right side, that's the main transformation that has the difference here. In regards to what they are, they're basically ability to call people. They have the discipline. They have the consistency. All the tools in the person that needs to have the dream life they want. And so the gap is not necessarily the actual actions. This is what I always thought. Just do it, right? Make the phone calls. Why can't you just do it? And for me, it's hard to understand that sometimes. But the difference is that person has to transcend who they are to become here to make sure they're able to have that. And in essence, they have to create a whole new other person That's called your future character. Does that make sense? I lose you guys yet? Right? And so the same thing looking back to me is that, and I wish I saw the photos, and I was dunking at a couple of them. One, the dude, if you guys seen with the longer hair and the blue shirt. I know Kyle, right? That was when I first started to do that. Got in real estate, bartended at night for 2 years, and ate on $30 a week. Right? I had to transcend that person into the next dude, who was a dude, you guys saw in the webinar picture, the skinny little kid, even with the bronze tips, right? That was teaching certain things. Totally different person, but I had to transcend that person, become the person, the fourth person, right? And transcend that person again, become the person I am now. So it's doable. I've also helped multiple people do it here, to transcend this. But the reality is, here's the thing. I want you guys to think of a new way to think about yourself. This is kind of the aha I had, is that see yourself as a new character, right? Your mind is separate from that character. And so if I can draw it out, which obviously I'm not the best at drawing out here, and how to do it is you have this overall, I guess you say a hand. There's a hand, right? Great drawing. That has all these strings. And the strings are controlling what do you think? You, right? John Stick guy, but basically you have the person here. All the hands, right? Legs are all tied to these strings, and that's your character. Right? So the one thing you got to look at is how do I separate, understand that my character is separate from my mind in the way I draw it out. And so your character takes orders from the mind and gets it done. Right? But most people have let their character overtake their mind. I wish my drawings were way better. It would look a lot more sensible. But here is the mind. Right? This here is the character. What most people do is they allow the character, aka the person that they've been, control the mind. Say it again. Most people let the character, aka the person they've been, control the mind. Instead of the opposite way, which is the mind controls the character. And sometimes there's character traits we've had for us for years, right? Over and over and over that are hard to break. And so I want you guys to just have a new way of thinking about yourself. It's like, look, here's the deal. We'll look at everything differently, right? Where instead of being me, I just have a character who I can pull the strings on. If I can literally move into the third person and be able to pull the strings on that person to do what they need to do. And it's a big aha because that's all successful people do, is they pull themselves out of who they've been and they figure out how to move the strings. And that's one of the mentions that the guy Sam Owens talks about. He's like, dude, I just figured I can become anybody I need to become, regardless of the situation. So if you think about it from a character standpoint, a character is one that says all the stories. They're the ones that have all the stories in your head. So for example, when the gym comes up at 5:30 in the morning, what does the character say? Oh man, I'm successful, I got a business, I'm already in pretty good shape, I don't gotta go. I don't have to get up and do it. I can sleep late, man, go back to bed for a couple more hours. That's what the character says. And most people, guess what they live by? The character. The successful person who transcends that, who comes here to be the person that they have that has their dreams, they're the ones that live by the mind. What's the mind say? Yeah, get out the bed. Right? And that's the best analogy I can have and overall is like, which one is controlling your lifestyle right now? Because if I'm the one that's driven by the character, guess what my success is going to be like? Not very well. I'll be right here in the same exact place I am right now. And so if you take anything from it today, which is I just hope anybody gets a part of it, is the reason that you don't have what you want in the dream life is because the character is still in control for you. And it's not until I make that transcendence above myself to say, look, I'm going to make sure I can get to a place mentally where I'm able to have my mind control my character. Every time I want to sleep late, every time I want to do what I know I not need to do, whatever it is, when I want to avoid making that call, I have to be able to step out of myself into the third person and make sure that I'm controlled by the mind because the mind is what helps me make the money. And the mind is what helps me get the success I want physically, in my relationships, whatever it is, but it's not until I have that transcendence that makes a difference. Otherwise, I fall victim to the voices in my head. And so I want to ask myself, look, how much do I fall victim to the voices in my head, which means I'm being led by the character instead of me having my mind control the character. A character, right, is one that gets up early, gets a cold shower, right, to be able to do what? Force yourself through that pain and enjoy it. That's what the one that, because you got to do what? I got to make sure I'm constantly discipline my mind. And we'll teach on that next week. There's 11 ways to kind of help do that, but that's the key part I want you guys to look at. The first step here, though, I got to do is I got to make sure I'm able to look down at it. I got to define what this is. I got to define my current character. What do you think that means? I got to take a true, deep dive into who I am right now. My strengths, my weaknesses, my patterns, the way I talk, the things I value, how I see those around me, how I judge those around me. Those are all the things that are in current character that are holding you back from being the person that's allowed to have the dreams you want to be. Does that make sense? And so there's a process we do. I thought about doing here is just too much to kind of do from a time standpoint, but there's these things that define us. Number one is our patterns of existence. So what do you think that means? Our patterns of existence is exactly what we do every day, right? My stories have things, and I shared 3 documents with you guys in that Google chat. If you want to take some time to do it, it's very powerful, but I was going to read a couple questions for you guys. What are my traits, right? Who do I idolize? Who do I look up to? Who do I admire? What traits, characteristics, things do I like about these people? What 3 people do I despise, dislike, and think are wrong? And then it has 2, what traits, characteristics about those people that I don't like? What are the things I love doing every day? What are 5 things I like doing? What are the things you're doing and never want to do ever? Right? Then it circles these things that are most like you, least like you. Right? What's your dream? Do you see how the current binary poles you have are in direct conflict with the dreams that you want? And so I want you guys to consider that my current character is in direct conflict with who I need to be to have what I want in the future character. And so why do we focus so much on teaching people here? We don't focus that much on the tactics. Why? Because I got to be able to grow who you guys are so you can have the success that you want in this business. Does that make sense? And so, but until then, I've been just pumping a bunch of stuff and helping and building disciplines. But like, if you can just really look at like, how do I focus daily on transcending who I am today so I can become the person that have my dream life that I want to have? That's the ultimate secret to have success.